So now that we've got the technical aspects, we've talked about practicing the shifts, connecting the notes. Then now let's talk about phrasing this melody and making it really beautiful. So the number one thing, as we said right at the very beginning, is the melody. And that means that that melody needs to stand apart from everything else. We need to think that that's all there is. That means that your I and M are always quiet. And to practice this, if you're having a hard time with that, then practice it with a stop in it. So instead of a pattern of 3, put it a pattern of 4 and put like a half note and then 2 quarter notes. So you have a break and a space to kind of unload the tension in your hand, and then you can play the I and the M very quietly. And practice with extremes. So practice exaggerating. That way you have some room you can relax it a little bit, but practice it really extreme of really bringing those down. So that the difference between the melody and the accompanimental voices, the interior voices, we have the melody on top, stems up, melody on the bottom, stems down, dotted half notes, and then we have the interior voices, which are the I and the M. So with that, keep the melody out front. Next, as a phrasing thing, there are 2 main rules to observe in this piece. And that is, if a note is repeating, such as the very beginning of the tune, when we have repeating notes like this, B, 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 then give them a slight crescendo, like practically every time. This, like 95% of the time, if you have repeating notes, bring them forward ever so slightly. So this would be. And so repeated notes get louder. The exception to that would be perhaps at the very end of a section. So at the very beginning of, or the end of the A section, we have. And that is the end of a big section, so you might taper at that point. But if it's the exact same, it's going to be boring. If it's going down, it's going to take energy away. It's going to be a relaxing. And so more times than not, it can also be a suspense thing, but more times than not, your best bet is going to be to get louder whenever you see repeated notes. That's not just in this tune, that's just in general. Repeated notes get louder as just a general rule. So the next thing is that when notes go down, then we'll get louder. And whenever they go up, we'll get quieter. And so this, I know that you see this differently in a lot of places, but for my money, this works so much better. So then this line right here, we see it's going straight, and then it goes down and down into the E, and then it goes back up, right? That's what this line is doing. So to look at that, this is a starting place. Of course, we have nuance and character with everything that we do, and so we have to make these decisions. But as a starting place, a large majority of the time, just like with the repeated notes, then this is going to be a great musical decision to get louder as they go down and then get softer as they go up. And that just keeps the ball rolling. So we'll start off somewhat quietly, louder, and then back off. And that brings us all the way up to that high note, which is very quiet, and then it repeats. And then we can grow louder with it again. So we can just, as a starting place in music in general, you can use that basic rule right there. Those basic, if it's going up, get softer. If it's going down, if the line is going down, gets louder. And if it's repeated notes, get louder. Then you can just use those, and that'll be a great starting point. If you do nothing more than that, it'll be beautiful. Of course, there's also some nuances with different things you're going to want to pull back here and there. Just listen for it. Trust your intuition. Make a musical decision on every single note. So know for every single melody note, we're talking about the melody here, because that's what we're doing. For every single note, know, is this getting louder than the note before, softer than the note before, or is it staying the same? And most of the time it won't stay the same. Normally it will be either getting louder or getting softer. Sometimes it does stay the same. But for a beautiful melody like this, then we certainly want to keep it moving. And then this would be a way to do it. Now, how much louder and how much softer is completely up to you. You can exaggerate these things, and in practice I would exaggerate, but then once you actually go to perform it, you might be a little bit more nuanced and whatnot. To start with, just to get the basic levels of sound in your head, then you can just play the chunk chords, balancing the high note. So to balance that high note out, you just stick that A finger out a little bit more, and then just close your hand from the big knuckle. That'll bring out that note. And that way you have you can back off on that A minor. That's the repeated note. But at the very end of the A section, you might want to die down. The other thing is, keep that melody note as good of a tone as possible. You want the richest, most luscious sound you can possibly get on that A finger the entire time. Once you go to the B section, keep it a little bit quiet, as tender and as sustained as you possibly can. So try not to let anything pop out. Like nothing like that to where there's something popping out. But keep it as sustained and like taffy stretching. Just keep it going the entire time. To the connection of the chords, especially that they don't accent. So when you're jumping to a new chord, make sure it doesn't spike. Don't let that happen to where the harmony change accents. Keep it, listen to the melody to gauge it. So that you can shape the chords underneath with the melody. The melody note is what determines the volume of everything else. And so get the melody note at just the perfect volume and just let the chords sit underneath that. And that is how I'd go about this. I hope you have enjoyed these tips. Good luck. It's just practice. It's just tinkering with it and getting listening to each individual note. Recording yourself is incredibly helpful, even on the steps. So record just the chunks and get that as beautiful as you can and just see how it's going. If you notice that there's a turbulent spot in any place, give that some special attention. Give some special attention to just your pattern in general, your right hand patterns, and then also to the tone quality of that upper note. And getting that consistent for the high notes, for the low notes, everywhere, for the open string, wherever it goes. Also, whenever it goes to the second string, that it stays consistent there as well. All right, have fun, do good work. Hope to see you soon. Bye.